guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Learn to Crochet here on my channel. I'm Em, and today we're going to be learning how to make a slip knot. If you missed episode 1, that is the episode that I went over what exactly you can do with the art of crochet, what the possibilities and what you can make are, and what tools and supplies you're going to need to get started. At the very least, for today's video, you're going to need your yarn and you're going to need a hook. You don't have to worry about scissors yet or a needle because we are not finishing off any sort of project at this point just yet, but we'll get there, I promise. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to transfer this yarn onto your hook so that you can actually start working with it. But before we do that, I must do some housekeeping. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe if you would like to see more of these videos. And if you are enjoying this series, please leave a thumbs up on this video and leave a comment down below so that I know you are enjoying and that you're learning something. And if you ever have any extra questions or need some further clarification on something, don't be afraid to ask me in the comments or contact me on Discord. I would be more than happy to help you out. So, did you do your homework? Did you get your supplies? You can't tell me your dog ate it, because if your dog ate a crochet hook, I am worried and you need to get going to the vet right now. In the previous episode, we talked about a few different kinds of crochet hooks, and it doesn't matter which one you got. That is not important. All that is important is that you got yourself a 5mm hook, as well as some yarn that is in the size 4 and also in a nice visible color. We don't want black. Also white, too bright white would probably be difficult as well. You want something in a nice color that is easy on your eyes so that you can see the stitches that you're making. So first things first, go ahead and take the label off from around your yarn. Whether you have a skein of yarn like this, or if you have a cake, just go ahead and remove that label. But don't throw it away yet. Keep it on hand because it does have some valuable information on there that you're not going to want to lose. We will go over this information in a future video so that you will know all about what exactly it means. Set that label aside and you've got your yarn. Now, there's 2 ways to start unwinding the yarn as it comes from the store. You can pull from the outside. So I have taken the piece of yarn that is loose on the outside of this cake, or we can start a center pull, which means that you kind of dig your fingers in there and find it sometimes is a little difficult. Yeah, I'm not finding the end very easily in here. This is what we call yarn barf when you're looking for the end and it just kind of like barfs out the center. That is some serious yarn barf. Okay, so I have found the end after kind of destroying my cake a little bit, but that is okay. We can kind of just take the end out. And I'm actually just going to stick this barf like back into the center of my cake. Yeah, so it's in there. So you can do a center pull where you find the middle and pull from that. The benefits of that are that when you're pulling from it, your skein or your cake isn't rolling around. You're just pulling from the center and it just stays put. See how nicely that feeds out? A lot of people prefer this way. I actually don't, because one big reason. When you use up all the yarn in the center, it's going to deflate, and I find that it gets tangled more easily. Second reason is the way that I store my yarn. I store all of my yarn wound as cakes on a yarn wall. And if they were all deflated, they wouldn't look very great. This idea is the same if you got yourself a skein of yarn. You can either find the end on the outside, or you can dig in there and try to find the center. Sometimes it's easy, like depending on the manufacturer, sometimes you can go in there and just look at that. Beautiful. Wow. That is the easiest I've ever found an inside yarn end. Either way, the pros and cons are exactly the same as the cake. If you pull from the outside, the skein will roll and flip around as you use it. And if you pull from the center, it will deflate and is way more prone to tangling that way. So after you've made your decision on where you're going to start pulling the yarn from, we are going to learn how to make a slip knot and transfer the yarn onto your hook. A slip knot is like this, and it's called that because depending on which part of the yarn you pull on, it either loosens and gets bigger or tightens onto your hook, and therefore it is called a slip knot. Normally, this end would be attached to your yarn, so let's just pretend that this one is attached, and this end right here is called your tail. On different projects, you're going to leave a different length of tail depending on what you're working on and how much you're going to need to sew at the end. All you need to know for now is that this is called the tail and this is called the working end that is attached to your yarn and that you are working with. Honestly, Mr. Fly, are you trying to learn how to crochet? Because if not, I cannot help you. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways on how to do this. The first one being the method that I use. Let me preface this by saying, just because I do it a certain way doesn't mean that that is going to be the best way for you. Everyone's hands are different, everyone's muscles are different, and what is comfortable for me might not be the most comfortable for you. So I encourage you to experiment, try a couple of different ways until you find something that makes sense to you and feels comfortable. So I'm going to put my fancy frills hook aside and I'm going to use my ergonomic hook today. It doesn't matter if you're using a different hook, just please make sure that it does correlate with the size of your yarn. And go ahead and unwind a little bit of yarn from your cake or your skein. And you don't need to start with your hook in your hand, so just set that down. First, we're going to measure out a good length of yarn, about a foot or this much if you're not American. And that is going to be the tail that we leave. And place it vertically like this in front of you. The top should be connected to your working yarn and the bottom should be cut, the part that's facing you. Hold out your non-dominant hand, which is my left hand, and these tutorials are going to be for right-handed people because I am right-handed, and place this yarn over top of it. Make sure to leave a little bit of a tail like so, and also make sure that you're not putting it over your hand with the cut end facing towards the top. You want the cut end to be facing towards you. Next step is to place your thumb on top of the yarn and pinch it between your thumb and your ring finger. This is just to hold it in place. It doesn't have to be like super tight. Like don't be clenching your hand, you know, just relax. That's honestly lesson number 1 when it comes to crocheting. Take a deep breath, relax. We don't have to grip it so hard. Like just loosen up, okay? So just gently place your thumb over your ring finger and pinch the yarn in between. Then we're going to take our right hand and grab the working yarn and you're going to wrap it around your peace sign fingers like so. You're going to wrap it over the top and then make an X on the underside. After you've done that, flip your hand back over and then you're going to just tuck this piece of yarn in between your pinky and your ring finger. You don't have to clench it too tight. You just need to tuck it there to hold it in place. After you do this, it should look like this. If it doesn't, then rewind the video and check again, but your cut piece of yarn should be hanging off, pinched between your thumb and your ring finger, and there should be an X on the underside of your peace sign fingers. And then you should be holding the yarn between your pinky and your ring finger. Don't let go of your thumb or your pinky just yet. There should be 2 strings running over the top of your peace sign fingers like so. This is what we're going to make the slip knot out of. So at this point, pick up your hook and go under the first one that is closest to the end of your fingertips. And then make sure the hook is facing down and hook the second one and pull it underneath the first one. Don't let go of your pinky or your thumb just yet. Lastly, you want to turn your hook and face it upwards so that there is a twisted loop around the end of your hook. At this point, you are free to let go and take your fingers out of the yarn, and it should look like this, just loosely onto your hook. But we want to go ahead and tighten this up, so grab the 2 ends of the yarn and tighten that knot. Don't worry if the loop is too big, because the reason this is called a slip knot is because you can slip it right closed. You should be able to pull on the working end of the yarn and the loop gets smaller and tighter to your hook. And if you need to loosen it, if it's too tight, you don't want it to be too tight either, or it's going to be really hard to get started. If you need to loosen it a little, you can just tug on this tail end of the yarn. So just like that, there you go. If you followed along, then congratulations, you have made your very first slip knot. I'm so proud of you. This is the first step. One of the cool things about a slip knot is that you can pull the two ends apart and then boop, it disappears. That way you don't have to cut off and waste any yarn if you're just practicing. The second method I'm going to show you on how to make a slip knot is one where you don't even need to use your hook. We are going to make a pretzel out of the yarn and make a slip knot with our hands. To start, you need to pull out a length of yarn like so, about a foot or 12 inches or so would be sufficient. Then you want to grab the cut piece and loop it over top of the rest of your yarn like so, and you're going to make this little fishy ribbon shape. After you've done that, you want to reach through this loop without untwisting it. You want to reach through this loop and grab this tail. You don't want to pull it all the way through the loop. You want to go ahead and catch the tail before you do so and pull closed the slip knot. This method is interesting because it doesn't even involve your hook, and lots of people prefer to do this and then go ahead and put the loop onto their hook, and to tighten it you actually would pull the tail in this method to close the loop and tighten it onto your hook so that it doesn't fall off. If this makes more sense to you, by all means, go ahead and use this method. The third and final way I'm going to show you how to make a slip knot today is another one where you don't necessarily need to use your hook. So we're going to start the same way and measure out a length of yarn. About 12 inches or a foot is a safe bet. Then we're going to pick up the yarn and lay it over our non-dominant hand. And the working end of the yarn needs to be over the top, and the cut piece needs to be at the bottom facing towards you. Then you're just going to hold on to it with a few of your fingers. It doesn't really matter as long as you leave your thumb free. Then you're going to take your other hand and grab the piece of working yarn that is attached to your ball or skein, and you're going to wrap this over the front of your thumb and around the back like so, making a thumbs up sign. Then you're going to hold the two strands together and pinch it with your pinchy claws. You're going to pinch the loop and slide it off of your thumb, and don't let go of this loop in your right hand. So at this point you should have a loop you're holding on to. The cut piece of yarn is still at the bottom and the working piece of yarn is attached to your cake or skein. At this point, you need to take your tail and make sure to flip it up to the top, and then pick up your working piece of yarn, which is at the bottom now, with your free hand, and push it up through the loop that you're holding onto without letting go of the loop. You're going to push it up through the loop with your free hand. If you have trouble doing this, you can also pick up your hook and hook the yarn up through there. But I think it's easier to do with your hand. So again, grab the working piece of yarn, push it up through that loop that you've been holding onto, and then grab the piece that you pushed up through there and the other two pieces with your other hand and pull it tight. You've got a slip knot. Yay! Now it's not on your hook yet, so all you do is simply place it onto your hook and then pull the working piece of yarn to tighten it up close to your hook like so. Not too tight, but you don't want it too loose either. And if you need to loosen it, remember you can always pull the tail a little bit and pull the working end to tighten it. And there you go. So those are the three methods that I'm going to show you today. Please feel free to use whichever one makes the most sense to you or the one that feels most comfortable in your hands. If you're a complete beginner, I highly recommend trying out all three and just see which one sticks. And then let me know which method was your favorite, the peace sign method, the pretzel, or the thumbs up. Try them all out and leave a comment down below of which you plan to use. The idea is the same as long as you've got a loop on your hook that can slip tighter or looser, you have done the job. So pat yourself on the back because you have made your first slip knot and you have gotten yourself ready to start crocheting. Hey! In the next episode, I'm going to teach you about how to hold your yarn and how to hold your hook and set yourself up for success making those lovely, lovely projects. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And I will see you guys next time in the next episode. Bye.